Good day, Mr. Matchford. I'm here with lecturer Yamon, right? This is part of the international research that we have to do, or field research. She has requested that she does not get recorded. She is willing to answer a few of the questions. So I'm just gonna give her the microphone or the recording device, and then hopefully she can answer a few of the questions.
Just speak into this?
Yes, please.
So I just start answering from question 1, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this is interesting question. Trade war between states and China. My students and I, we always discuss. Obviously, it has impacted many people. In fact, in both the countries and outside the world, outside these two countries as well. Because if you realize, especially in the beginning, when the trade war started, all these excessive taxes and excise duties didn't really benefit many people, especially the farmers in the US and also the farmers in China. Because at the end of the day, it was just a war between two countries, politically motivated, and the prices just kept going up. And then the demand for the products went down, so they couldn't do so much export. And I think the impact was there because the farmers and some producers were affected. When you have a manufacturing facility in your country and you're depending on products from certain country, and now because of taxes, everything is going to be expensive, your end product is also going to be expensive, and then the demand will start dropping. Yeah, so that's my thought. Okay, shrinking population and slowing productivity affecting developing countries such as Cambodia. Well, yes, the population is shrinking, but it's not overnight. So I think because of the globalization, the impact will not be so much. Of course, Cambodia really relies a lot on Chinese-made products and produce from China and support from the Chinese government. But still, for developing countries like Cambodia, because of the high rate of growth that they can achieve, there will be other potential investors coming from other parts of the world to help. So that's not going to be a problem, at least for now. Recession is inevitable because it's inevitable because I think it's like a chain. So when it affects the major economic powers of the world, there will be spillover to other parts. Yeah, so yes, everyone will be affected, including Cambodia, I believe. Okay, does the Russia-Ukraine war have the effect on the local economy? In which ways? Of course. When the war started, one of the things that happened was the fuel prices, right? Traveling became so difficult. Everything is so much higher in prices, especially flying out of this region, because most people here, like for example myself, being an expat, I find that the traveling cost has gone up by 40%, right? So obviously it has impact. And I still remember before the war started, for me to come to work, I used to spend about $6 a day to come and go back. Now it has gone up to close to $7. So it has big impact because it may not be a big thing for people who have comfortable income, but for small income earners, this will definitely be a problem. How does the Cambodian Reserve Bank control inflation? Fortunately, in the past years, I see that the Cambodian inflation rate is either stable or kind of went down a bit. It didn't really escalate. Although personally, I would say that prices have gone up. As a consumer, I know that prices have gone up, and how the government is intervening is by having some kind of control mechanism. But then it's also not easy because a lot of products are also coming from the neighboring countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, and overseas. So you can't control prices from overseas. You can only control prices within your country. So the government has not really announced big measures as far as I know,
but no monetary policy revision.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I haven't read, but because we are using this dual currency, and they also talk about de-dollarization. When last I met some of the officers in the Money Museum, but then everything has to take place slowly because anything drastic can really kind of affect the investors' confidence. So then they will kind of, stay away. Yeah, back off. I mean, like, do you want to come into a country where the currency is not really accepted yet? So for now, I think there's not really much intervention because I think statistic-wise, what is published says that inflation is still at the acceptable level, not drastic changes. Yeah, but of course, one of the things that I heard from them was like they're very interested to do de-dollarization slowly. And now with the BRICS and all the other countries doing it, so Cambodia will definitely try to do it. And at that point, they may come up with stricter monetary policies.
If I may ask a question, do you think they would want to bring back the gold standard? Is that what you think they want to do?
For a country like Cambodia, you cannot be too ambitious because we are still struggling with the basic needs. Poverty is the first thing, education, health care. These have to be resolved first before you can get very ambitious. Because I think Cambodia really is depending on a lot of countries for support. They have a lot of funds coming in from NGOs in France and Japan and China. So right now they are just trying to build the basic infrastructures and welcoming investors to let the country grow. The money part, I think they are really interested, and whether they want to use fiat system or gold system, it all will depend later on when they get there. A lot of things are still not highly regulated here, as you could have witnessed. Like for example, if you want to do a business in the neighboring country, the visa policy is stricter than compared to Cambodia. So investors can come in here, legally register a company, start off very quickly, very easily, right? So that's because they want people to come in so that jobs are created and so forth. So the focus is really on other things for now. Having said that, not that they are not doing anything, but they will follow the trend, and as they get there, then they will decide what will be the best. I don't know when they will decide on going on de-dollarization, whether they want to use gold, fiat, or whatever, but I think we haven't gotten into such discussions, at least not to my knowledge. I don't read such things yet. For now, it's always about growth, opening up the economy, making sure that the country is able to sustain itself with the support of all these NGOs, foreign funds, and local growth. Exactly. Yeah. And
yeah, I agree with you. I think Cambodia is growing exponentially, but it's not developed yet.
No, it's in fact. I think in some of the literatures I would still quote Cambodia as least developed economy, or LDC. So of course some authors say emerging economies, but I see drastic change in the last 4 years for sure. Yeah. How does Cambodia increase business confidence? I think basically the fact that when they come in as investor, they have some support. The tax part, I think if you are doing in the free trade zone, you have some privileges. But otherwise, for general investors, small businesses, companies, service industries, the ease of entry and setting up your business, everything is easy, like the tax is flat, you pay, and as long as you follow the rules, the law, very easy. And I think the maintaining of the US dollars as a major currency is also boosting the confidence for investors. So that is one reason why it's going to be around for a while, until the real really picks up trust and gains momentum locally and accepted by investors. again, we just have to wait and see how long that takes. Yeah, really imposing so much trade barriers, but they kind of were affected by trade barriers when EU say they don't want to import, or they kind of imposed some kind of tax because of some issues which I don't want to mention. But then later on, I think they resolved the dispute because Cambodia depends on export market, right? Like for example, garment factories. Most of the garment factories here, they produce to supply to US, to Canada for huge brands like Zara, H&M and all that. So they really benefit with trade negotiations. Sometimes trade barriers could be there, they have been there, but somehow they resolve and work around it. There are always countries supporting Cambodia in that context. And I think, the RCEP, the RCEP policy and all that also benefit countries like Cambodia being in this region. So yes, they are not going to be implementing trade barriers to other countries. As long as they are not affected by trade barriers by other countries, I think it's good enough for Cambodia. Yeah, because for Cambodia, we are still depending a lot on our neighboring countries. Like for example, canned food and packet food or packaged items, consumables, mostly come from Vietnam, Thailand. So during the pandemic, the beginning stage, the supermarkets were literally empty because these products were not coming in. But it was just for a temporary period. Yeah, so I think they cannot have, high-level trade barriers among countries because we need it for our consumption and also for the industries, manufacturing industries. And also the big part of supplies come from China, especially for the industries. And applying equal distribution of wealth, I think we haven't got there yet. Like I said, tax is very fair. I think it's 300 and above, you start paying 5%. It's like based on income brackets. Maximum tax is 20%. And what they're trying to do is trying to provide basics to those who need it so that the people can elevate themselves. So for now, the focus, more than equating the income or wealth among people, is to try to bring the poverty level to the lowest possible. So nobody should be deprived of education, free healthcare, and usually when there are crises like pandemic or flood, the government steps in to help. But still, just the government itself cannot achieve so much. So they rely a lot on NGO. You can see hospitals built by the French NGO, a lot of ambulances donated by the Japanese NGOs and so forth. So right now, I think the focus is to eradicate poverty and to kind of make sure that people are able to get access to the basic needs. And thereafter, whether they're going to use a different kind of tax to make it equal, like the Scandinavian countries, for example. You don't see very poor, you don't see very rich, because the tax will just equalize everyone. So I can still say that we have not got to that stage. And in Asia, if you go to India, for example, it's the same. The rich, they're very rich, the poor, very poor. Despite the fact that the rich still pays like 44% tax or 40%, we still cannot close the gap so quickly, because I guess at the end of the day, it's who works hard, they get more. So not every country or people or public in the country is going to approve a tax system like Scandinavian countries. Yeah. Final question. Yeah. I think fiscal policy, monetary policy, these two can still be used to a certain extent to kind of make sure that, the growth is sustained and continues and recession can be prevented. But that's something that every government will be able to do, and I think Cambodia has been doing that too. So that's the most prominent thing that they can do right now. Nothing drastic yet, not like dollarization or anything like that. For now, it's basically going to fall back to the most common tools like fiscal and monetary policy. Yeah.
Good day, Mr. Mashford. I'm here at the American University of Phnom Penh, and I'll be speaking to an anonymous lecturer. She will be answering a couple of questions regarding the South African economy. So I'm going to hand over the microphone to her quickly.
But wait, can you tell me a little bit more about South Africa, though? What is the investment environment in there?
Okay.
Like, how is the, the framework, the legal, like, can investors enter? Can they,
It's very westernized. It's a capitalistic society. Anybody can just go in, you can purchase land, you can set up a business relatively quickly, even as a foreigner. That's one of the comparative advantages that South Africa has over a lot of the other countries, like the neighboring countries like Zimbabwe. There's more barriers to business. It's not as business friendly as South Africa. There are local issues such as high unemployment rate due to corruption.
That's what I was going to say. How is the corruption? Because it might easy to, have an investment, but what about the corruption levels? Because
but the corruption takes place more on a massive scale. It's like kind of like siphoning of funds, from the government, the tax that we pay. Then they use that money to open up it's money laundering, but on a government level.
But like for a foreign investor to actually wanting to invest in the country, do they need to be involved in this money laundering too? Does the government kind of like enforce it in a way? Like
indirectly, you are involved because opening up a business in South Africa, you have to register for VAT purposes and for business tax purposes. So the corruption takes part in the tax and the VAT that you pay. So you're not directly involved in the corruption. The government takes that money from you. Obviously, you need to pay that because everybody pays it, and then they start doing their illegal things. That's basically how the corruption works. It's not like on a personal level where I go in and how can I put it? Let's say I tender for 1,000 chickens, right? But meanwhile I bought 200 and then it's not on that level. There are some places where it's like that, where the 200 excess of the chickens, then they don't declare it. It's not really on that level. It's more on a higher level, the type of corruption in South Africa.
But would they allow competition? Don't let the government's officials themselves? They do?
Some of the companies are nationalized, but you can still, me being a South African, have done a lot of work in South Africa on a mining sector. You can have semi-private business entities, especially regarding raw minerals, because that's also one of the advantages that we have. We have a lot of gold, right? And that's a great tool in the economic world. But you can.
Because I don't know much. I wanted to formulate my answer in a way. If the government, even despite the corruption levels, if there is still space for companies to enter the country, and they still don't feel that threatened politically or legally wise, then there can be space, for foreign companies, foreign direct investments to enter the country. And
there's a lot of foreign direct investment in South Africa. I mean, we have McDonald's, we have KFC, we have international we in partnership with Anglo-American Gold, and they are registered under a different name in the United States. So you see there's even big conglomerates that are investing and pouring heavy money, especially into the mining sector, because South Africa's economy is not just a touristic economy. People very often mistaken it for that. It's touristic, and it's also, how can I put it, getting raw minerals, it's primarily gold. So exportation also plays has a vital impact on the local South African economy. So I would say tourism,
gold.
Services to a degree, We have very good healthcare there. Some of the doctors are very, very educated. You know, it does come at a premium. It's a very mixed economy, but if I had to put my money on it, I would say mining and tourism is the big contributors to the GDP of the country.
Okay.
Yeah. But feel free. I would love you to go as say what you want to, and like I'm saying, it's totally you off camera.
No, I know, but just like before me, giving like an opinion, idea on how we can, for example, decrease the employment rate. I need to know what are the best sectors and what are the most potential sectors for growth in South Korea, but in South Africa. Since you mentioned tourism, then I think they can be like the main target. Since also like has a port, so they can use for biggest international trade.
So for unemployment rate, what you're basically saying is stop being so corrupt, number one. And number two...
well, let me put it that way. Try, have the government to put all the main resources and effort in sectors that are more productive than other sectors, that they can generate more profits. If services or if like tourism is the main sector that they can generate more money, then why not have more companies, foreign companies, to enter the country, make it lower, stricter laws, or changing the tax rates in order to have more foreign companies resource to enter the country.
Okay, so easing of tax legislation would be one of the answers as well.
Yes, and trying to reduce the corruption levels, depending on what levels it is, part of the government, and trying to increase and make space for for companies to be competitive with each other. That way, they're not only going to bring the best companies and the best services, but by having more companies enter the country, that means more people will be employed in different sectors and different industries, like in different fields of that industry.
So basically, preventing monopolies from occurring, or oligopolies from occurring.
Yes, because in a way they can harm, the society and the economy, and when you have a government that has some high levels of corruption, having certain companies just operating a monopoly or oligopoly, then doesn't make it, it's not going to boost the economy.
Yeah.
So I think having an open competition, and by securing the private companies, or even like any type of companies to enter the country, you need to have low corruption levels. You need to give them safety, security, so their investment are not going to be they're safe and there is potential. Not if they have any issues, they know they're not going to have a voice in the government, so because all their investments will be worthless.
Great. So. Yes. So what about question 2? I asked you, how would you suggest South Africa to control recession and degrowth from taking place? How would you suggest? What would you suggest the Reserve Bank of South Africa does?
Oh boy! Oh boy!
It's okay. Trust me. Like this is for South Africa. It's nothing to do with the local economy.
No.
It's very...
How is the bank though in there?
Banking sectors, that is also very, very good. It's phenomenal, if I can put it that way. They are it's not corrupt. I would not say the banking sector is corrupt at all. I haven't heard of any bank failures such as the ones that happened in America. I know a lot of the banks in America, what they tend to do is they like to push a lot of loans, and due to that it puts a lot of strain on them, and due to that a lot of them tend to fail. But South Africa is much more, because we don't have the dollar, we have the rand, we got to be more careful with what we do when we loan money out. Also, that being the interest rates are about 30% per month, so it's massive compared to it's massive.
Wow!
It's very linked to the unemployment rate, and then also
what is the inflation too, though?
Okay, the inflation they control it quite well. I think the inflation was this year it's 6.5%. Okay, and the growth rate is about 5%, which is quite standard for most countries. So I think it has to do with the knock of the COVID-19 effect due to the ongoing massive unemployment rate that South Africa currently has. that really, it kind of tells me it's kind of stabilizing. It's kind of like, I would say it's stagnation, in other words, you know. It can go higher, but some things need to change, right? So what would you suggest we do?
Oh boy, I think it's kind of like a difficult question, to be honest, because I think I need to really know more about the economy and what are the policies that the banks and reserves have been taken, you know, and how has the country been responding to that. You know, different economies, different policies, they respond. And
I get it. All right, great.
I'm trying to be very diplomatic in my answers.
No, it's fine. It's totally fine. So, if you don't mind,
Yes.
if you're comfortable with answering the other two questions regarding
Which
the
one?
local economy, if you're
Local economy in Cambodia, I think that's okay.
I think it's pro Cambodia.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're. I'm
It's
not gonna
good.
get deported or killed. You know, our university is actually the founder is one of the ministers.
Okay. Okay. All right. But okay. So maybe you don't want to answer it. Then it's fine.
Well, I think number 4 is okay.
Okay.
Because I mean, Cambodia does need a lot of skills to be developed, and if we notice, like, most of the higher management positions are owned by foreigners because the Cambodian citizen, the quality of education is not in the standards it has to be. So I think first place, Cambodia needs to work really hard on the education system and bring in more quality, and then having to develop more training programs for the rest of the staff and the industry, and expanding the knowledge, like high-tech skills, economic, finance, law, because most of them are very basic, and majority of the population don't have access to education or the proper quality of education. And when they're facing with an everyday work, they don't have that critical thinking to actually manage a few tasks they're not used to or they haven't done before. So I think critical thinking should be one of the skills that Cambodia education system should focus on. Not just like having students who just repeat what professors say, but instead of trying to encourage that more, because it's more important to go out of that comfort zone or wherever they learn in the books or the research.
So to think more broadly.
More broadly, in order for them to be more exposed to international education, at least trying to incorporate in their curriculum more westernized, books or skills or other activities, workshops that the student can be, have that access to education, not only a certain level of the society, not only middle class or higher up, but also the lower class students. Otherwise, the country will always be depending on foreigners and Western education to hold all these higher positions.
Got it. All right, great. Thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. All right.
Okay, how am I going to get it for it?
Yes. Hello, Mr. Mashford. This is Under Geyer. I'm currently in Cambodia, and I'm trying to get some of the questions answered here at the Institute of Technology, right? So we have a few contestants here. Would any one of you want to answer some of the questions? You can just choose one and answer.
The first one I prefer to number first. The question is that the Russia-Ukraine war has an effect on the local economy in a big way. Yes, according to the our society affect our one lead. Yes, it increased 4,000 to 60,000.
Got it.
So much. So when we need it, because it more than normal. Yes.
Oh, like fuel, food, and everything's going up.
Yes, yes.
Inflation.
The question number 6 is how does Cambodia increase business confidence? For me, I think as you can see in Cambodia now, the bank is very developed in our country, such as ABA banks. It's the full name is National Bank from Canada, and and it's very developed today because most of the people in Cambodia use it. It's easy to transfer or pass money to the many things you can buy online or can pay to the bank or something that you want, and it's very easy and we can control it. Although in COVID 2019, I think it's very good that we can control our economies in this situation. It's very bad for all over the world and also Cambodia, but